Yeah.
All right. Is that all the new Slayers? Oh, we guess the other two were like Dragon Soul and Samira, which we'll talk about later. Aha. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
cool. Executioner.
Mhm.
So Kindred, Zaya, and Kale are back, and this certainly looks a lot like Valkyrie, but it's not
Yes.
Valkyrie.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
So Valkyrie was technically an origin, and these are a class. So we wanted to make sure that they kind of separated out the names, and this is a little more reusable
Yep.
as a class, but functionally very very similar. 2, 3, 4 piece, so you feel good about sort of like moving up the sort of chain of them. If you get it chosen, you can skip a tier or whatever. Very very flexible in that regard, but
Yep.
their outputs are all sort of like all over the place in terms of burst damage, sort of mixed damage, and then your classic Kale damage, which is
Yep.
just destroying a team with magic. So
I will say I like this design personally a lot, just because the four piece is 99%, not
mm-hmm.
100%. And
Yep.
it's just a little touch where it's like, if you're full health, you don't get crit, but anything else, you're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
die.
absolutely, absolutely. So that kindred shot on the squishy unit in the back line doesn't technically get a crit even at at 4, but any amount of passive damage coming in, and they're dead, they're gone.
Yep, yep. Cool. All right. So Kale is Galaxy's Kale, one of the most popular champions from Galaxy's 3.0.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But there's some changes here because she's not a Blade Master, she's Divine.
Right.
So it seems like she's not going to be attacking nearly as much. It seems like her total DPS output goes down a bit because of that fact,
Mm-hmm.
but she can do true damage.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. The extra survivability from Divine, coupled with the potential to put out true damage, makes her not need the attack speed nearly as much. But we did also bump up her base attack speed when we went into sort of rebalance her and tweak her to hit this. I think she was like zero point 0.7 in Galaxies, maybe
Yeah,
0.75, somewhere around there. And I think now she's 0.85 or zero point
she's
0.9.
point
I want
0.9
to say.
now.
Yeah,
So
so still attacks very quick, still great with Rage Blade and all those attack speed items, just not quite
yeah.
Blade Master attack speed. Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, a lot of people, when they talk, a lot of the people that don't like the Chosen system will oftentimes be like, oh, could you imagine if there was just a Chosen Kale that you could just get and you just win the game? And it's interesting because now here we have Chosen Kale.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I'll call out is it seems like from our playtests, she hasn't been nearly as dominant.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think she needs some pretty proper itemization, some protection. She's obviously very, very powerful. As with most forecasts, if you run into a chosen early, you kind of can pick them up and play around them if you need to. But the reality is that both Divine and Executioner, as just sort of like two-piece breakpoints, aren't actually that strong. So where she's positioned in the web doesn't give her like necessarily the same sort of oomph that like maybe a Jin or something would have, where
Yep.
it's like, oh, this is like a really big increase in damage for the entire duration of the fight. It's like, no, this is kind of it's either time gated or a little more like based on the flow of combat than a lot of other carries would be.
Yeah. Yeah, it also just seems like this set in general, there's a lot more backline access, whether it be like sharpshooters, Jarvans, Tryndamirs, pikes, things like that. So it ends up, you often have to, like you said, really protect this Kale, really make sure she can survive. If you can do that, she's a powerhouse. But I don't think it's quite the
Yeah,
auto win that it used to be in Galaxies.
yeah, very true, very true.
So, okay, now speaking of which, we have Zaya, which is a very interesting, different carry. I don't think a lot of people are expecting. Chloe did some really cool work here.
Yeah,
So
for
Zaya
sure.
is Elderwood, Executioner, Keeper, three
Yep.
traits,
Mm-hmm.
which everyone's definitely afraid of her getting Keeper and Elderwood, but we'll
Yep.
talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
Decent attack speed, low armor, low MR, kind of a high cost spell. But
Mm-hmm.
the way the spell works, can you explain this?
Yeah, so when Zaya starts to cast, she'll leap into the air and basically pull off the SR visuals where she's surrounded by feathers. She becomes invulnerable and untargetable for the duration. So units who are attacking her will go, oh, okay, she's untargetable. I'm going to go do something else and not just stand there for a second and a half or a second while this goes through.
Yep.
She'll then shoot out in a cone in front of her a bunch of feathers. And everyone can only be hit by one feather, so it's basically everyone inside the cone takes a percentage of her AD, so a lot of physical damage output in a burst. Then, after a brief delay, she'll pull all of the feathers back, dealing magic damage, but units can be hit by multiple feathers on the return. So in this particular case, when she pulls back, units who are very close to her take a lot of burst damage, which kind of makes you want to frontline her, hence the keeper output. But she's still a squishy carry, so you kind of want to put her a little bit further back. So there's a lot of positioning puzzle that goes into like how you itemize her, where you put her, who she's next to, all this kind of stuff. But it's a mixed damage output, both flat and burst.
To give people an idea, because this is where I think one of the more interesting carries. If you put her in the back corner, how far does her ult reach?
Basically, her attack range, and I think a tiny bit more.
So basically, her attack range is 4 hexes or 3?
Yeah. No, she's 3 right now. So I think it'll hit the 4th hex.
So basically, if she's in the back, she can only hit the enemy front row?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the thing with Xayah. You can't position her in the back corner like you would basically every other carry. You end up wanting to almost put her in like the second row, or like, remember the old Vel'Koz spot in Galaxies where people would put him in like the second row on the right side?
Yep.
Like, that's almost the Xayah spot. So.
Yep, absolutely. But same problem with Vel'Koz is you've got a unit who is fairly fragile, outside of Elderwood's eventual armor and defenses and keepers up front shield. It's still a squishy carry, and you can take a lot of damage just from positioning her a little too close. So I'm interested to see how players will try to deal with that.
Yeah, so that's why I think Xayah ends up being one of the more interesting challenges here. Is not just throw her in the backline corner, give her offensive items, and win. This is like, you really got to think about where to put her, because she does a lot of damage if you can nail it, but you got to be in just the right spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that players will really enjoy watching, both like early on in the set and honestly throughout the entire duration, is it is crazy to me, especially because she's a later game unit, so it'll happen more likely, how often she will like clutch dodge certain things. So like a Nidalee Spear will be coming at her, and she'll just happen to get the right amount of mana to jump up in the air over it, and it completely whiffs. Or like Cho'Gath will be on the ground rumbling, she'll jump up into the air, dodge it, do damage, come down, and keep attacking. So a lot of spectacle there, a lot of power too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one that people are going to be frustrated by, but at the same time, it's one of those, like, it's fun when it happens to you, and it's a little less fun when it doesn't, but I think it's healthy to have that, so.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like she's a spam caster. She'll probably get, like, 1, 2, maybe 3 if you, like, really go, like, the mana defensive route, like, lifesteal casts per combat. But when you watch it happen, you got to go, wow, that's high ELO Xayah right there. That was amazing.
Yeah, perfect.